Okay, so I have to clarify a couple things. Forgot what I have. Well, when I said the sprite, what I meant was there's two layers. This is creating an alias to the persistent layer. That's what the default is. And this is the constantly refreshed layer. So when the sprite is being blotted onto the constantly refreshed layer. The persistent layer is where it's drawing the dashed lines. Anyway, so what else was I going to talk about? Watch this. Load. Now guess what? Now watch what happens if we do who minus R. These are all the symbols in after Egypt, and the file links work. So the mountain is a standalone. It works standalone or as part of the. These are global variables. Some people will tell you not to use global variables. If you're writing, okay, here's the truth. You want to use the appropriate technique for the scale you're working with. If you have 1,000-line game, all my files use the interact with, well, this is 500 lines. However, all the API is in the symbol table already, so it's a little deceptive to say it's 500 lines. But if you have a short program, use global variables, use tiny names. Basically, do it what's appropriate for the scale. People, you know what? This generation doesn't know how to program. My generation learned on Commodore 64s, and it didn't brain damage us. You have plenty of time to learn other techniques, so it's not going to hurt you if you learn small scale programming. This is Holy C, which is not standard. I made a fucking compiler. It has graphics in source. It's a language that is handed down from the gods. It's compiled, not interpreted. The compiler source code is on the distribution. It's 20,000 lines. Anyway, let's go back to I wrote all the code on the distribution, and it's 100% open source. All the source code is there. So where were we? Horeb. Okay, Horeb is, if we run this application, there's a multi-core and a single core version. Horeb is 3. So the first part is the sprites. I have some animals. I used Windows to get some bitmaps. I have to write a bitmap. You have to use 16 color bitmaps. Then you get a bitmap from Windows. For example, here's some bitmaps. Type them. So now we have it. We have it at the command line. Put it on the clipboard. So there's the sprite. Control T, Shift cursor right. Control C, copy. Then go into your file and do Control V, paste it. That's how you get a bitmap into a sprite. So now it's a sprite. Anyway, Horeb. This is the part where let's look at what we're looking at. Horeb is when you talk to God, Mount Horeb. Go up the mountain. That's mountain. This is Horeb. I think this is Horeb. Yeah, I think it's Horeb. So you have these little sheeps walking around, palm trees, and you have the burning bush. This is not Horeb. Anyway, and the measuring line go forth against upon the hill Gareb shall compass about Goath, and the whole valley of the dead bodies and of the ashes in the fields, brooks Kidron, corner of the horse gate to the east shall be holy unto the Lord, shall not be plucked up or thrown down any more forever. Oh, the word came to Jeremiah, the Lord, 10th year of Zedekiah king. For when the king of Babylon army besieged Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shut up the court of the prison which was in the king of Judah's house, for Zedekiah king of Judah had shut him up, saying, Wherefore dost thou prophesy, and say, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will give this city to the hand of the king of Babylon, he shall take it. Okay. Anyway, so Horeb is getting a little bit fancier. So I had to do it this way. So we have the sprites, then we have a multi-core. This draws some of the sprites with each of the cores. It tries to, I don't think it tries to load balance. This draws all the sprites with one core. I don't remember why I had to do it like that. I don't remember. And then this is the part 3, which lets you walk around this. So, didn't explain that very well. Is there anything I can explain? Is there anything? So, when you get a key, if you want just an ASCII key, use char, not key. Key means scan code. Char means ASCII. So, for example, so in the routines, oops, that's not right. In the char routines, well, that's kind of why. You have your get char and you have get key. Char is ASCII, key is scan code. Scan key and scan char. Okay, so kids don't know the difference. Oh well, I don't feel like explaining it. I'm talking to Larry Page. Okay, so this gets, there's a conversion that will convert a scan code to a char. The scan codes have flags for if the shift key if the shift key is pressed, that's a flag on a scan code. You can read about it in the help. Anyway, so ASCII 0 is where the cursor keys have ASCII 0, but they have a non-zero scan code. And for my scan code, normally you have an E0 I cleaned it up and put E0 prefix is now treated as bit 7. So in one U8, in the lowest byte of the scan code, you get a unique value for different keys. Okay, shift escape is ASCII 28. Escape is 27. It's not ASCII. Anyway, so the Commodore didn't even use ASCII. Isn't that a trip? That is amazing. Those guys had big huevos or something. Anyway, so they used 2 fonts. that's how they can do Russian. You can do Russian with the key to switch fonts. Because Control Alt A, no Russian. Is there? There's no Russian. There's a Russian, isn't it? I think you need more. No, it doesn't have Russian. Anyway, so let's just go ahead and finish this off. So this is the... It looks a lot better than a couple years ago. I finally put some effort into the art. Okay, I don't think there's anything new here. So you can, God word gets a random word from God. God passage gets a random passage from God. Comics. This uses find files to look up all the comics into a... Find files is like find first, find next, except the way we roll is we get the whole list in one. In other operating systems, you do find first, find next. What we do is we just get them all in a linked list, a tree, and print the name. This makes the menu for... we make a document with the menu, and then this is Control L, or the widgets up here. When you're trying to figure out the widgets for the dollar signs, use Control L to help you. Look at the demos and stuff. Menu entry, no underline, some text. Left expression. Left expression is the menu value that it returns. And then we do a pop-up menu, and that gives us the menu value. We're passing the directory entry. We are assigning the directory entry to the menu. We pop up, it gives us a directory entry, and then we edit the full name of the directory entry. Pretty slick, huh? So with that little tiny bit of code, guess what we get? With that little tiny bit of code, we get a pop-up with a menu, with a menu of a directory, and then we can edit. Did you follow that? So first thing, instead of find first, find next, we get all the files, and there's a lot of flags you can play with for recursive and stuff like that. We make a new document, change it to blue. We make menu entries. These are $ commands. And then we do pop-up menu, and that returns us the menu. Whatever they selected, we get to assign a value. There's a couple that are reserved. Cancel and cancel is -1. Cancel. Use doc. I think you say docm cancel. Docm cancel is -1. That's what that's what it returns if they do escape. If they do escape, you get a value greater than zero. If you do a shift escape, that's abort, you get a value less than 0. Cancel is a -1. So pointers are always positive. We don't use the high memory. We use the lowest 2 gig for code heap and everything. Let's see, mem BIOS rep. So we identity map virtual to physical. This is the physical memory map. So obviously this is the addresses we're dealing with. I happen to use the lowest 2 gig for code. It's unfortunate we have a partition like that. And the rest of it is data. So code is where the loader and compiler put the code. Malloc comes from the data heap. What is this? Why do I do this? Because there's a relative 32 call. And I can use relative 32 call for all my subroutine calls. My code is faster and shorter and better than everybody else's because I put all code. I use just call relative 32